The first thing Zara noticed when she woke up wasn't the taste of blood in her mouth, or the way her vision blurred at the edges. No, the first thing she noticed was a laughter. High-pitched, chittering sounds that reminded her of insects scraping their legs together. The Vex'hai were celebrating something, and judging by the burning sensation crawling through her veins, she had a pretty good idea what. Well, she muttered, her voice barely a whisper as consciousness slowly returned. Looks like someone's been playing with their chemistry set. The neural dampener around her wrist beeped softly, a gentle reminder that her enhanced reflexes were currently running at about 10% capacity. The toxin coursing through her system had done its job beautifully. Her captors probably thought she'd be dead within the hour. They clearly hadn't done their homework on human physiology. Zara kept her breathing shallow, her body perfectly still as she assessed her situation. The restraints were energy-based, humming with the kind of low-frequency buzz that would normally scramble human nervous systems. The cells smelled like ozone and something distinctly organic, rotting vegetation mixed with that peculiar metallic scent all Vex'hai settlements carried. Through her barely open eyelids, she could make out 3 figures moving around what appeared to be a command center. Their elongated limbs moved with that characteristic jerky motion, like marionettes being controlled by a drunk puppeteer. The tallest one, probably their leader, was gesturing wildly with all 4 arms while speaking in their rapid-fire clicking language. Subject shows minimal vital signs. The universal translator in her ear crackled to life. Toxin absorption rate exceeded projections by 37%. Human durability parameters require significant revision. Zara almost snorted. If they only knew. The second Vex'hai, smaller and more nervous, kept glancing toward her cell. Command will be pleased. First successful capture of enhanced human operative. Intelligence value immeasurable. Enhanced. Right. That was one way to put it. What they didn't know, what no one outside a handful of Earth military scientists knew, was that Zara wasn't just enhanced. She was a prototype. The first and only successful recipient of the Lazarus Protocol, a classified program that cost more lives than the Battle of Titan Prime. The toxin they'd used would have killed any normal human in minutes. Hell, it would have killed most enhanced humans. But Zara's biology had been rewritten at the cellular level. Every organ, every system, every individual cell had been designed to adapt, overcome, and survive, including a built-in resistance to approximately 14,000 known toxins. The poison burning through her veins right now? Number 6,043 on that list. Her enhanced metabolism was already breaking it down, converting the deadly compounds into harmless byproducts. In another few minutes, she'd be operating at full capacity. The neural dampener was a nice touch, but it was designed for baseline humans. Against someone with her modifications, it was about as effective as a paper wall against a plasma cutter. The third Vex'hai approached her cell, its compound eyes reflecting the harsh artificial light. Biological functions stabilizing. Recommend immediate interrogation before subject expires. Patience, HFY, the leader clicked. Let the toxin complete its work. Dead humans tell no secrets, but dying humans tell everything. Zara filed that name away. HFY, she'd remember it. The leader continued its briefing, apparently confident their prisoner was too far gone to pose any threat. Our scouts report no rescue attempts. Human forces believe operative eliminated in orbital bombardment. Perfect cover for extraction. Perfect cover indeed. Zara had to admire their planning, even if she was about to tear it apart piece by piece. She'd been deep in Vex'hai territory for 3 weeks, gathering intelligence on their new weapon systems. The mission had been going smoothly until someone got lucky with a plasma rifle. Her stealth suit had taken a hit, but the feedback had scrambled her active camouflage just long enough for a patrol to spot her. The ambush had been professional. She'd give them that. Neural disruptors, stun nets, the works. They clearly studied human tactics. What they hadn't studied was human stubbornness, or human revenge. The leader was still talking, describing their plans for her extraction, the intelligence they hoped to gather, the strategic advantage her capture would provide. Typical villain monologuing. Zara had encountered it on a dozen worlds, with a dozen different species. They all thought they were clever, explaining their plans to someone they assumed would be dead soon. She let them talk. Every word was another nail in their coffin. The toxin's effects were fading faster now. She could feel her enhanced nervous system coming back online, her reflexes sharpening, her strength returning. The neural dampener was fighting a losing battle against technology it was never designed to handle. Time to wake up. Zara's eyes snapped open, and she sat up with a speed that should have been impossible for someone supposedly dying of alien poison. The movement was so sudden, so unexpected, that all three Vex'hai froze mid-conversation. "Good morning, sunshine," she said, her voice carrying just the right mix of sarcasm and menace. "Thanks for the wake-up call. I feel absolutely fantastic." The energy restraint sparked and died as her enhanced nervous system overloaded their containment protocols. She stood slowly, stretching like someone who'd just woken from a pleasant nap, rather than someone who'd supposedly been poisoned to death. "That's impossible," Kexval chittered, its voice climbing to a panicked frequency. Toxin concentration was 7 times lethal threshold. Neural dampener shows full functionality. "Yeah, about that," Zara replied, examining the now-dead dampener around her wrist. "Your intel's a little out of date. See, when Earth's finest mad scientists decide to rebuild someone from the ground up, they tend to include a few surprises." She ripped the dampener off and tossed it aside. The device sparked against the cell wall and went dark. "Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to introduce myself properly. Staff Sergeant Zara Cross, Earth Military Special Operations, Lazarus Division. I'm what happens when humanity gets really, really angry at being underestimated." The leader was reaching for what looked like an alarm panel. Zara sked disapprovingly. Now, where are your manners? I haven't even thanked you yet for the lovely accommodations. The poison was a nice touch, by the way. Burns going down, but it's got a pleasant aftertaste. Kind of nutty. Her enhanced muscles coil like springs. The cell door was reinforced, designed to hold creatures much stronger than baseline humans. Unfortunately for her captors, there wasn't much baseline about her anymore. "You want to know the funny thing about human military doctrine?" She continued conversationally. "We have this old saying, 'Don't poke the sleeping bear.' Of course, that assumes the bear is actually sleeping and not just pretending while it figures out the most creative way to eat you." The door exploded outward in a shower of sparks and twisted metal. Zara stepped through the wreckage like she was strolling through a park. "Now then," she said, cracking her knuckles with sounds like gunshots. "Who wants to explain to me exactly what you were planning to do with all that lovely intelligence you were going to extract from my dying brain?" The 3 Vex'hai scrambled for weapons, their earlier confidence evaporating like water in a vacuum. Zara watched them with the patient interest of a cat watching mice. "Take your time," she added helpfully. "I've got all day." "Well, you don't, but I do." The corridors of the Vex'hai facility weren't designed for someone like Zara Cross. They were built for creatures that move with careful, measured steps, not for something that could cover 30 meters in the time it took to blink. She caught up with the fleeing guard before it had made it halfway to the nearest alarm station. One enhanced hand closed around its neck, lifting the creature off its feet with casual ease. "Now, that's just rude," she said conversationally, holding the struggling alien at eye level, running away before we'd been properly introduced. "I'm Zara. You're about to be very, very sorry." The guard's plasma rifle clattered to the floor as it clawed uselessly at her grip. Zara examined it with the detached interest of a scientist studying a particularly boring specimen. "You know what I love about your species?" she continued. "You're so confident in your superiority, so sure that bigger equals better, that technology trumps biology every time. It's adorable, really." She squeezed, just enough to make her point. The guard's compound eyes bulged with terror. "Here's a little biology lesson for you. Humans evolved as persistence hunters. We didn't have claws or fangs or natural armor. What we had was the ability to chase our prey until it literally died of exhaustion. We're built to never, ever give up." The sound of approaching reinforcements echoed through the corridors. Heavy footsteps, multiple weapons being charged, barked orders in the clicking Vex'hai language. Zara's enhanced hearing could pick out at least a dozen soldiers converging on her position. And when you add military enhancement technology to that baseline stubbornness, she continued, still holding the guard like it weighed nothing, well, you get something your species really should have researched more thoroughly. She released her grip. The guard dropped to the floor, gasping and clutching its throat. Run along now, she said pleasantly. Tell your friends that Staff Sergeant Cross sends her regards. And, oh, you might want to mention that I'm not particularly interested in taking prisoners today. The guard didn't need to be told twice. It scrambled away on all fours, leaving its weapon behind. Zara picked up the plasma rifle, hefting its weight with approval. The weapon was designed for creatures with longer arms and different grip patterns, but her enhanced nervous system adapted instantly, finding the optimal firing position through pure muscle memory and tactical programming. Time to go to work, she murmured, and moved deeper into the facility. The first squad of reinforcements rounded the corner in perfect formation, weapons raised and energy shields deployed. Professional, coordinated, exactly the kind of tactical response she'd expect from a military installation. They lasted approximately 6 seconds. Zara moved like liquid lightning, her enhanced reflexes turning the world into slow motion. The first guard's plasma bolt passed through empty air where she'd been standing a microsecond earlier. Her return shot took off its head in a spray of green ichor. The second guard was adjusting its aim when her fist punched through its energy shield like it was made of paper. The satisfying crunch of exoskeleton echoed through the corridor. Surprise, she said to the third guard, appearing behind it faster than its compound eyes could track. The plasma rifle but connected with the back of its skull, dropping it instantly. The remaining 3 guards broke formation, panic overriding training. Zara sked disapprovingly as she methodically hunted them down. Really, gentlemen, she called out as she stalked through the corridor, stepping over their fallen comrades. I expected better from a species that thinks it can conquer the galaxy. This is just embarrassing. She found the 4th guard trying to hide behind a junction console. One enhanced kick sent both the guard and the console flying in different directions. Sparks rained from the destroyed electronics, and emergency lighting flickered on throughout the section. That's better, she said, admiring the dramatic lighting. Much more atmospheric. Guards 5 and 6 had barricaded themselves in a storage room. Zara examined the reinforced door with professional interest. You know, she called through the barrier, I could just wait you out. My metabolism is enhanced to the point where I could stand here for weeks without getting tired. But I'm feeling impatient today. She placed both hands against the door and pushed. The reinforced metal groaned, buckled, and finally gave way with a sound like thunder. The 2 guards inside opened fire immediately, plasma bolts lighting up the storage room in brilliant flashes. Every shot missed. Zara was no longer where their targeting systems said she should be. Physics lesson. Her voice came from somewhere in the shadows. Organic neural networks can process information faster than electronic ones, given the right modifications. Your computers are trying to predict where I'll be. My brain is deciding where I want to go. The first guard spun toward the sound of her voice, only to find empty air. The second guard fired wildly in all directions, panic destroying what little accuracy it might have had. And here's the best part, Zara continued, her voice now coming from a completely different direction. I don't have to follow ballistic trajectories or worry about recoil compensation. I just have to want you dead. The guards went silent. Then one of them started chittering in what she assumed was prayer. Oh, don't do that, she said, stepping into view with her hands empty and open. I'm not some kind of monster. I'm just really, really good at my job. Both guards opened fire simultaneously. Zara moved sideways, the plasma bolts passing harmlessly through the space she'd occupied, and closed the distance before they could adjust their aim. 2 quick strikes. 2 unconscious aliens. She decided to leave these ones alive. Someone had to spread the word about what happened here. The facility's main corridor stretched ahead of her, lined with blast doors and defensive positions. She could see Vex'hai soldiers taking cover behind energy barriers, weapons trained on her position. Motion sensors and automated turrets were already tracking her movement. Zara smiled. Finally, a challenge worth her time. "Attention, Vex'hai personnel," she called out, her voice carrying clearly through the corridor. "This is Staff Sergeant Zara Cross, Earth Military. I'm officially declaring this facility a free fire zone. Anyone still carrying weapons in 30 seconds will be considered a hostile combatant." Chittering laughter echoed from the defensive positions. Someone shouted something that the translator helpfully rendered as an anatomically improbable suggestion. 25 seconds, she continued pleasantly. More laughter. Someone fired a plasma bolt in her direction, though it fell well short of her position. "You know what the funny thing is?" she asked conversationally. "My commanding officer always said I had anger management issues. Turns out I don't have anger management issues. I have anger deployment issues. I was just deploying it at the wrong targets." She started walking forward at a steady, measured pace. The automated turrets opened fire, filling the corridor with deadly energy beams. Zara flowed between them like water, her enhanced reflexes making the computer-controlled weapons look clumsy and slow. 15 seconds, she announced, still walking. A squad of guards emerged from behind their barriers, firing in coordinated volleys designed to saturate her position with overwhelming firepower. It was a textbook suppression technique, the kind of tactic that would pin down even enhanced humans. Unfortunately for them, Zara had moved beyond enhanced and into something entirely new. She accelerated suddenly, covering the remaining distance in a blur of motion that left after images in the emergency lighting. The first guard had time to register surprise before her fist connected with its center mass, sending it flying backward into its companions. "Time's up," she said, and began her work in earnest. What followed wasn't really a battle. Battles implied some degree of uncertainty about the outcome. This was more like a natural disaster with tactical awareness. Zara moved through defensive positions like a force of nature, her enhanced capabilities turning every engagement into a foregone conclusion. Plasma bolts that should have vaporized her passed through empty air. Energy shields that could stop military-grade explosives crumpled under her fists. Weapons designed to kill enhanced humans proved woefully inadequate against someone who had transcended the category entirely. The Vex'hai fought bravely, she'd give them that. Even when it became clear that conventional weapons were useless, they kept trying new tactics. Stun grenades that should have overwhelmed any nervous system. Sonic weapons calibrated to disrupt human brain patterns. Even some kind of pheromone-based chemical weapon that was supposed to induce paralytic terror. Nothing worked. Her enhanced biology simply adapted, evolved, overcame. By the time she reached the facility's command center, word of her rampage had clearly spread. The remaining personnel had barricaded themselves behind the heaviest blast doors they could find, and she could hear panic communications being transmitted to what sounded like their orbital support. "Command! This is Outpost 7. A voice crackled through their external speakers. We have a Code 7 situation. Repeat, Code 7. The human specimen has breached containment and is demonstrating capabilities far beyond intelligence project." "Oh, good," Zara grinned, and there was nothing pleasant about the expression. "I was hoping this would be a group activity. Individual conversations can get so boring, don't you think?" She took a step forward, and all three aliens took several steps back. "Here's what's going to happen," she continued, her voice dropping to a deadly whisper. "You're going to tell me everything about this facility. Every weapon, every guard, every exit. You're going to explain exactly what you were planning to do to me, and who else you've done it to." Another step forward. They were pressed against a far wall now, compound eyes wide with terror. "And then," she concluded, "you're going to sit quietly while I decide whether you die quickly or whether I get creative. Because here's the thing about poking sleeping bears. Her enhanced metabolism had finished processing the last traces of the toxin. She could feel her full strength returning, every enhanced system coming online. Her reflexes were operating at superhuman levels. Her strength was magnified beyond normal human limits, and her endurance was effectively unlimited. The Vex'hai had made one critical error in their intelligence gathering. They'd assumed she was just another enhanced human, someone with improved reflexes and slightly better physical capabilities. They had no idea they were facing something that had never existed before in the history of warfare. A human who had been torn apart and rebuilt specifically to be the perfect weapon, designed by a species that had already proven itself the most adaptable and vindictive in the known galaxy. Sometimes, Zara finished, the bear wakes up hungry. The first guard rounded the corner at that moment, plasma rifle raised and ready. It took one look at the destroyed cell, the 3 terrified scientists, and the small human female standing in the wreckage with murder in her eyes. It turned around and ran. Zara laughed, a sound like breaking glass mixed with distant thunder. Smart boy, but not smart enough. She was moving before the sound of her laughter had finished echoing through the facility, moving with the fluid grace of something that was no longer entirely human, no longer bound by the physical limitations that had once defined her species. The Vex'hai had wanted to study human durability. They were about to get a very thorough demonstration. And somewhere in the back of her enhanced mind, beyond the tactical assessments and target priorities, beyond the flood of adrenaline and the cold fury of someone who had been betrayed and left for dead, Zara Cross was smiling. After all, she'd been having the most wonderful dream about revenge. Time to make it a reality.